Hi, guys. Hello. Did you miss me? Welcome back to the Mind Your Business podcast. I gotta start getting some like classical music for us to, kind of rock out. We just a little bit too silent and boring, and my chair is squeaking. I need to put some oil on my chair. But other than that, I'm like, how you guys been? I missed you guys. Hope you answered all the questions that I had you guys have for homework. And you at least wrote down a vision for your business. Okay. Because we're going to go over those questions today. All right. Um, so that's all I wanted to say. How was your Mother's Day weekend? I want to say happy belated Mother's Day. Well, our Mother's Day is every day because I'm a mom. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. It was restful. It was full of joy and happiness. And if it wasn't, better days are coming. Trust me, craziness doesn't last forever. Okay? All right. Well, we had homework and we had things to do. So I hope everybody did their homework. Um, okay. All right. The first question for our Mind Your Business podcast last Wednesday, and it was a little delayed because I couldn't get into my YouTube account. So I think I posted it on Friday. But by now, everybody should have read and known the homework that was due. You guys had to answer these questions. Okay. All right. So the number one question was, have you ever thought about starting your business? That was a question. Did you guys write down? Have you ever thought about it and what it would look like? What type of business? That's question number two. So question number one comes into question number two. I hope everybody on this podcast, yes, has thought about starting their own business. And what would that look like? Even if it was part-time. And you probably already did start a business and you didn't really consider it because people always say your small business. Yeah, but my small business brings in some finances. I don't care how small it is. It's my small business. And then most of the times, if you nurture those small businesses, they turn into big business. Okay. So I know somebody has thought about owning their own business and starting it. Okay. And everybody should at least one time in your lifetime. All right. Um, and what we go back to the second question, what type of business would it be? Would it be sales? Would it be services? You providing a service in a labor for someone else. It all comes down to service, right? At the end of the day. But we want to make sure, well, what type of business? What am I good at? Am I good at cooking? Am I good at baking? Am I good at talking? Am I good at organizing? Am I good at um, empowering? Whatever it is that you wanted to, am I good at finance? Am I good at building? What are you good at? And what would your business look like? And how would you get compensated for that? Okay. Um, and then number three was, how would your business serve the community? Right? How would your business serve the community? Would your business serve the community? Would it serve the youth? Would you be creating jobs? Would you be doing after school programs, educating people, nourishing people, feeding the community? You can do that as well. So, how is it going to give back and how are you going to serve your community and make it better? Right? Um, and we asked that question. Let's go to number four, how to start. I think this is one of the biggest things that people really don't talk about is like they want to start a business. First of all, they probably think that everybody thinks it's a stupid idea, right? But at the end of the day, your vision is your vision. It's not supposed to make sense to anybody else but you. Okay. So even if you think it's crazy, you know, is people going to be people there to guide you along that vision to kind of fine tune it? But at the end of the day, your vision is your vision. And it's not supposed to make sense to anybody else but you. So that's what we get hung up on is actually telling somebody, hey, this is what I want to start and actually knowing how to start it, right? Because now I got to tell somebody I want to start this and I don't want them to judge me, but I do still need help on how to get it done. Okay. Um, so if you do want to know how to start, I know you can always go to your state website. When I started my business, I used LegalZoom when I started my business. It was just easier for me because I didn't know anything about it. Now it's much cheaper. You could just go on your state's website and you can look this stuff up and do some research. Okay. So I would research on how to get it done. And then even if you don't know how to get it done, it's somebody that's going to know how to get it done and help you out. Okay. It's a lot of stuff that you're going to have to research because starting a business and you gotta know how you're gonna structure it, okay? So how are you gonna structure your business? And we'll go into that later into the conversation. But you really gotta start doing some hard read. That's why I asked you these questions last week because you gotta start getting busy. You gotta start Googling this stuff, researching it. How am I going to structure it? What tax benefits? What tax code am I going to be under? Right? Um, we always want to provide I want to tell you, hey, it's all good, and you start asking these questions, but then you also have to get started. You got to know what you're doing, and you can't just do it just willy-nilly, right? You got to do some research, start taking notes, looking into stuff. Okay? Would you be funding this business? Because we got to start now. So let's talk about funds. Would you be funding it? Do you have the funds to fund it? Can you start it without a certain amount of funds? How much funds do you need to start it? Don't be discouraged because it's a lot of family members if they will get behind you and a lot of strangers as well. They will get behind you and they will help you fund your business. But you have to do the research and it has to be serving the community. It has to be lucrative, right? And they got to know what your vision is, what you're going to do. Okay. So those are the three, but they'll get behind you. And I shouldn't say vision, I should have said goals, right? They need to know what your goals are because if they're funding it and it's monetary gain, they want to know if they're going to get a return on their investment, right? So we're not doing stuff for free. Even a nonprofit makes money. Okay. So we're not doing stuff for free. We need to know how much money are we going to make. All right. So if I'm funding it and you get somebody to sponsor or you get somebody to help you fund it, are they going to get a return on their investment? And how long is that return of investment going to take? Do I need to get funds from a bank? How is that going to work? Do I need a business plan in order to get funds from a bank? Do I have to have insurance? Things like that, right? And then we'll get into business credit and stuff like that. But how am I going to fund it right now? What do I need? How do I need to structure my business? Do I get a tax ID? Don't I? Am I a sole proprietor? Am I not? These are the questions that you have to ask yourself. Okay. How would it be structured for tax purposes? And we talked about that. So it's structured different for a sole proprietor as it's structured for a partnership, and if it's structured for limited liability, and if it's structured for so it's a whole bunch of things that you got to research and you got to understand and you got to know because just like the tax advantages, it's some tax disadvantages that you have with certain ones. So you got to make sure because you don't want to, the government will come for taxes. Taxes, they said you got to do that. You got to, in my case, stay black, pay your taxes and die. That's three things that's going to happen. Okay. I can't get around it. I'm gonna pay taxes. Whether I pay a little bit or a whole lot, I'm gonna pay taxes. I can't avoid it. So we want to see if we can, what are our tax advantages, right? What are our tax advantages? And how are we structuring our business? All right. All right. And would you be running your business and operating your business by yourself? Like it's when I started, when I first started, I started with my business, my real estate investor business. I started with, I outsourced everything. I outsourced my real estate lawyer. I outsourced my accountant. And I was in school at the time to be an accountant. I outsourced my accountant because I had two business partners. I outsourced my we had a management company that would get us tenants. I outsourced that. I even outsourced that. So I was like, I'm not, I don't, I outsource pretty much everything, right? But it comes a time where you have to learn, actually learn the business, right? So I pretty much got rid of everybody and I just went all in and I learned. I went and focused and I learned about the business. I learned, where do I go to get my tenants? I still didn't learn about my taxes because that's different. And we'll talk about that later. But I didn't outsource that anymore. I was like, mm-mm, I got to know how to get my tenants. I got to know how to manage my property. I got to know how to do all of this stuff. My accountant at the time, I did not. I kept her, and I still do have a real estate lawyer, but we outsourced everything. And the main reason why I outsourced the accounting, even though if I could do taxes and I knew about it, and you just need to know a little bit about everything so people wouldn't rob you. You just need to know a little bit about everything so you wouldn't have to pay more taxes than usual, or at least just know the laws, right? And at least know what you can do, what you can't do. So you don't want to ever have anybody's you don't want to give that up to anybody solely because at the end of the day, that's your business. So I would encourage you to know a little bit about everything so you can know a lot about nothing, right? But you know a little bit about everything and a lot about nothing. So I knew about the taxes, but because I had two other business partners, I never wanted the money and the way we pay taxes and everything else to be all lumped together. And me being in control. If we ever parted ways and it was not amicable, um, an accountant did that. So nobody would be accused of theft. Nobody would be accused of not paying appropriate taxes. Nobody would be accused of anything. All the documentation, and I paid a hefty price for her. I still do. I still pay my accountant, and just a tax accountant. And she works for the IRS, and she's an accountant. And she does very, very well. I love her. I have no problems with her. I've been using her for 16 years. 16 years. Okay. So I really like to outsource stuff like that because it's good for me. Now, with that said, if I'm really running the business by myself, I gotta know a lot about nothing and a little about everything. And then I outsource what I can afford to outsource for right now. Because in the first 5 years of business, not all the time you get a return of investment. Okay. So you got to be ready. All right. So if you're going to run this business by yourself and you're not going to have employees or help, um, you got to get organized really, really quick. And you're going to probably have to outsource a lot of things to kind of get you rolling. Right. Then the next thing if you are gonna have employees, how many employees do you need? Because you don't wanna hire too many people that you don't need, and then you don't wanna not hire because you need to scale your business, and scaling your business means that you gotta create jobs. And you gotta hire people so you could get more help, so you could take on more work. That's how scaling your business takes place, okay? So you have to hire people. Now, the time frame in which you hire people, now that's a difference because you don't wanna hire just any old body, right? Really wanna get a good look and make sure that these people align with your vision and your goals. So that's gonna take a while to get the right people into your business and for them to see, because it's not theirs, right? So you still gotta they still gotta see your vision, appreciate it, see your goals, appreciate it, and is willing to work with you to build it. That takes a special person. So you gotta get some people that really so that's gonna take some time. And just to scout them out and sift them out because you're gonna get so you gotta get the wheat from the tare. You're gonna get somebody that looks good, and then eventually they don't look good anymore, right? So you gotta really, really fine tune what your employees are and what they're gonna look like. So that's a really good thing about scaling your business. If you want to stay, just kind of get a control of it, kind of get to know what you're doing, get a handle of everything, and then you scale it, that's even better because now you know a lot about nothing, but you know a little about everything in your business that even if you did bring somebody in, if they're not there anymore, you can take that place. Okay. Or you know the job duty well enough that you can take the place or get somebody right away that's in that place. So, and then it also gives you the time to kind of take a look at your business, see where your holes are, see how you can improve when you start small and really hone in on the goods and the bads, right? But if you kind of just go big and broad in the beginning, it kind of gets lost and it waters down your vision because now it's too big. You can't hone in on who's who. You don't know what you really want. Nobody's listening to your vision because it's just too many people. So you're like, listen, I just need you to be able to do the work and that's it. And then customer service get waters down. And it just is a whole. So I would say start small, keep it tight, and then once you get a grip on everything, then you start scaling and branching out. Okay. Um, that might not be for everybody. Everybody probably likes to start big. They probably have the support and the threshold and the capacity to start big right away. I'm just saying what work for me. Okay. So it might not work for you, but what work for me was starting small and then boom, taking off. Okay. Um, the next question is, have you looked up the pros and the cons of your business? So if your business is sales or if your business is servicing people, did you look up the pros and cons, right? What's the pros to selling cupcakes? What's the cons to selling cupcakes? Do you need a food truck? Is it ever going to scale bigger than just me and probably my daughters or my sons or some family members? What are the pros and cons of your business? Is it seasonal? Are you only gonna make money when the sun is out, or are you only gonna make money when it's wintertime? What are the pros and cons of your business? Okay, that's very important because in order for you to go on to the next step and really compete on a really good level, you need to know what your weaknesses are, and that'll be your cons. And then need to know what your strengths are, and that's your pros. Okay, so that's a really good thing. Um, I think the next question was repetitive, about no. This one is good. That's when we lead to the pros and cons. We go to have you research your competition. You gotta know what the competition is doing. You got to. Does that mean in stalking? No, you can look some of this stuff up and just take a look. Okay, you know, well, are they bigger than me? What are they doing? How are they marketing? How many employees do they have? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Did they lose any money last year? Did they gain any money last year? Stuff like that. Marketing is one of the huge, huge things that you need to scale your business. So I would suggest to look at the competition. If they got all 5, 10, 80 social medias, I would get on it, right? Are they hiring young people? What is your audience? Is it geared to more, so you got to figure out what is your audience? Who are you marketing to? What are your competitors and how are they getting all the people that they're getting? You got to do your research, okay? Because if you don't do your research, you'll be just doing a hobby and not really scaling your business and getting involved, deep involved, okay? Because we're trying to build empires. At least I have. Right? Um, and then the last one is, can you do this business at 65? If it's serving the community, can you go out and serve at 65? Can you cook at 65? And it's all about scaling your business and finding employees, right? We said, hey, I could start this thing by myself, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna need some help. Because at 65, like I should be on a beach somewhere while my business is working for me, right? I'm supposed to come in, consult with my board of directors, look at my bottom line, look at my losses. How is this thing growing? If it's not growing, if it's stagnant, how do we remarket? That's what I want to do at 65. I don't want to be running the day-to-day operations, opening the doors and closing the doors at 65. No, I don't. So I need to find out, can I stand up and cook 80 cupcakes at 85? I mean, at 65. Or hopefully we don't get to 85, but can I cook 85 cupcakes to 100 cupcakes at 65? Will I still be standing on my feet and doing that? You know? So that's when we really have to talk about that. And then it leads and segues into your exit strategy. What is your exit strategy? We leave jobs and it's called retirement at a certain age. What is your exit strategy as an entrepreneur? If this thing really takes off and it's really big, what is your exit strategy for taking off? When am I going to leave this business? When I'm going to stop making cupcakes? When I'm going to stop doing nails? When I'm going to stop doing hair? I love it, but I can't do it at 65. What is my exit strategy? What am I going to have saved? How am I going to have a life income? I won't be able to take Social Security if I'm an entrepreneur because that only comes with jobs. So, what is my exit strategy and my life term income? What is my income? I can depend on my husband if I'm married, but what if his is not enough? Do we downsize? Do I sell my house? Like what is my exit strategy as an entrepreneur? Because we never really talk about this stuff as entrepreneurs. There's so many accounts out there that you can get now that you can kind of feed into it in a lot of the business funds that you can say, hey, this is the retirement plan. So that can be off of the business and it's also a tax advantage. So we got to talk about a lot of these things, right? So take a deep breath because we talked about a lot of stuff today. That was system overload. It was a lot. I hope you guys are still with me. Okay. So we talked about starting a business. We talked about what type of business it was. We talked about structure. We talked about scaling, marketing, tax advantages. Oh my gosh. Woo. Pros and cons. Research and the competition. Woo. What else? Can I do this at 65? And my exit strategy. Okay. All right, guys. We talked about a lot of stuff today. I like this topic. I think I'll kind of pick one. I don't know. You guys tell me what you want to talk about. Put it in the comments. I think this is going to be really good. This is good. I love this. I think we'll go into detail and I'll kind of go and break down all of the different things. But I like this. Yeah, I think this was good. Thanks for staying with me. Thanks for coming on pretty much every Wednesday to hear me ramble. Even if I started, it was crazy first times. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me. I appreciate you tuning in and watching me and listening to my questions and allowing me to make you think. My next thing I want to tell you guys is please like, share, and subscribe. Look at me like a real YouTuber. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. I'm starting out brand new, but I love this. I used to be like, oh, I'll never be on YouTube talking to myself. That's how I used to think about it. Look at me now, right? Ah, well, guys, another episode of Mind Your Business has concluded. I think I'm gonna pick pieces of this one because I really like this, and this is a really good thing to me. I like this. Um, but please put in the comments, text if you want to talk about something else, and we will. But I think this is really good. We can go into all of the different things about starting a business. It's good, and my experiences and things like that. So. I want to tell you guys thank you again. Mind your business. That's it. Mind your business. Say your prayers. That's about it. That's all I got for you. Pray, 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 and mind your business. Drunk or sober. Drunk or sober. That's what we say in Trinidad. Drunk or sober. Mind your business. Bye, guys. See you next time on the next podcast. Bye bye.